This meeting is now being recorded.
Okay, hello everybody to another XStepCafe session. Just to make it quick, just another notification or notice on a small extension on my website. I've created a new Google Plus community, so you can click here to join that community. Maybe I will discontinue the forum in some time, because I think that's probably a better way to exchange each other. Right. So having that said, I just hand over to Uwe, and not so much time, and did you see my screen right now? I'm not sure.
No, I don't see a screen.
I thought I would. So just one.
Now it seems to get better.
Now can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So just what I was talking about. I just made this addition here, social media, Google Plus, so you can click here and find this community I created. So just as an alternative, and maybe to the forum I've set up in my website page. So just as an announcement again. Okay, let's stop sharing here, and Uwe, you can go ahead.
So, hello everybody. We'll just try to share the screen. Now you should see some PowerPoint slides, I hope. Can you see the slides?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. As most times, if Arne presents a topic of mine, it's more a development focused one. I will try to dig not too deep into technicals, but explain you what this monitoring implementation of kernel-based business add-ins called BAdIs is meant of. Okay. This is the only part I would like to talk about. If you are quite familiar with the way how you can enhance the SAP standard, then there's in ABAP the most prominent enhancement option is to use so-called business add-ins. We say, okay, BAdIs. This is just the abbreviation. And let's say the most positive thing about BAdIs is that SAP standard development can implement, let's say, those BAdI exits in part of the coding, where we think customers would like to have their own logic, override the SAP standard logic, or to try to handle business logic in a completely different way in accordance with their business procedures that then SAP expected the business application to run. The coding, the BAdI implementation coding, is only executed if it is active. And what is also quite important is if you have active BAdI implementations, your own implementations, or let's say SAP implementations, that such coding can have a really big impact on your on the behavior of your SAP system. So it might behave differently compared with let's say a shipped standard SAP system, which is but also intended by the customers or partners that implement the BAdIs. And of course, BAdI implementations can have depends on the corresponding processes. In most times, they have the influence that is expected and programmed, but it can also be that an active BAdI implementation can change a business processes in a not wanted way. Okay. The problem is if you try to do an error analysis and check perhaps why is the batch number that I want to be created automatically not created in the way that I expect, the detection of such errors get really complicated and complex if you have a lot of BAdI implementations that are active and they exist. And so the worst case is to search the needle in the haystack. This means you have to check all the relevant active BAdI implementations. And of course, for such purposes, for checking and monitoring such BAdI implementations, it might be good to have at least a minimum of monitoring capability. And here, SAP on the basis provided monitoring functionality for the classical business add-ins. And the classical business add-ins are those that are have been developed within SAP R3 Enterprise extension and use basis technology. And if you work with execution steps, then you're quite familiar with those classical BAdIs with the filter values if you create your own implementations for generation scopes and evaluation symbols. In the meantime, there was quite significant progress in the performance of BAdIs, and those classical BAdIs are meanwhile replaced, or let's say outdated, by the so-called kernel-based business add-in BAdIs. This means that the execution of the functionality is quite put down below to the kernel layer of an SAP systems, which then also means that such kernel-based BAdIs are quite fast and quick. And if you want to create at least your own BAdIs, then the corresponding transaction for BAdI creation, they will just offer you the creation of so-called enhancement spots in which you then have to implement your kernel-based. This is quite the technical spoken. The biggest problem is for the old classical BAdIs, we have a monitoring transaction, monitoring functionality. But for the kernel-based BAdIs, you can really search on the web and search also SAP notes. You won't find any piece of coding that you can reuse to check these more modern based BAdIs. And this was something we discovered. We had some discussion in the manufacturing area about this, but we have had a lot of discussion in the WM. We work with serial flow functionality. We also the complete business logic can be overruled or overwritten by customer logic, and here it's quite also tough for the customer to identify which BAdI is involved and what really does the BAdI, and also for the SAP support to check if the error is because SAP standard coding is error prone, or because in let's say error prone BAdI implementation on customer side is activated. And the solution is quite simple. As always, we would like to publish something in the SAP community network. There's a report that I prepared and set up, which allows you then to get a quick overview about the active BAdI implementations, and also to navigate fast into the corresponding part of the thing. And here in the slides, you also have the link to the document on the ST that contains the description, how to create the report, and let's say a short also summary about what the report does. Concerning monitoring of execution step BAdIs, I don't know if everybody of you knows the transaction CMX05. Some might know. Some might not know, and here a report, this RCMX Test01 is called, and if you check this, you have here also an overview about the SAP names. Let's say here are the generation evaluation symbols, and also the scopes of generation that can be checked. You have also the status if the BAdI is active or is inactive, which is quite also helpful if you let's say detect except system behavior that's quite unusual. Then you should also first check if the BAdIs are active. Normally in standard shipment and after upgrades they have to be active if they're activated before. And you can also directly jump into the coding by double-clicking into this cell value. This is also quite good if you want to build your own implementations and search for the corresponding SAP standard logic that you can use as a template. So this is for, exactly for the classical ones. And so we just switch to the live demo. For the kernel-based one, I will just execute the report in one of our test systems and explain what here. So if you have a look at the document that is published on STM, you will also get the source coding of this report. You just start here. You have two select options that you can fill. One is the component ID. This means the SAP component. We can just check the kernel-based bodies in PBPI, other topics. Or you can enter the name of the BAdI definition. If you are familiar with the more technical details, then you can execute this as well. So then if I execute it, you see, okay, for the component PBPI and asterisk for the placeholder, we found 7 BAdI implementations. And you see also here, this is quite an effect on our test system. Normally here's the status column of the BAdI, so there the BAdIs exist, and also we have active BAdI implementations. And only say concerning the kernel-based BAdIs, we have one which is quite prominent, which you might also know is the one of the XStep BAdIs or the process order BAdIs that are used, called enhancement bot. And here they can just see also, if we just try to write the names of the BAdI definition, description if it's available in the language, and the most important part is when you can just, if you want to check what's going on, you just double click, let's say, on the implementation name, and then the system or the report calls the standard functionality for showing up the BAdI implementation of the kernel-based BAdIs. You can also continue here. Here's the enhancement implementation. You can directly also jump into the implementing class and check for errors. So that's quite nice. And also, if you navigate back, you return to the list. So it was going 1 step 2. And this is first case meant as a tool for you and for your support for easily identifying and navigating to possible source of problems in BAdIs. So if you check the STM document, you'll see that's not located in the manufacturing execution area part of the SAP community network, because it's more likely a basic topic, and it's also located in the area that deals industry extensions and also the enhancement and framework concept. So also quite nice to have a look at, let's say, the place there and learn something more about it. So this was what I just want to show. If you have questions, just ask.
Yeah, great, Uwe. That's really nice thing you did there. So in terms of how would you use it? So or who would use that tool?
So on, let's say, on customer partner side, I would think that this tool is more likely for the techies, for those that do the first try to do the first error analysis. Just start the report. If you know that you have let's say also a lot of BAdIs that are involved, then you can actually check this out, and also play easily place breakpoints more easily, because you get a quick overview of which BAdI implementation is active and which is also processed. And on SAP side, so we also had some discussions if we would like to have such a report in our standard coding, because for, let's say, also for applications like EWM, the Extended Work Management, where a lot of kernel-based bodies are in use, this might be a very good tool to help also the support without the need to implement this stat coding. And there are discussions ongoing, but I can't promise you that that here we have some SAP standard coding in the next 3 or 4 weeks. But I addressed this also to the support folks, and yeah, so the feedback was quite positive. But it's more for the technical guys that are around there.
So, what about the others? Is anybody there who would find that useful as well, or is that too technical for you?
For us, it will be useful, yeah, because we have a lot of BAdI implemented, not even in PPI, but also in other areas. So to find which one is active is good.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Any other comments? Okay. So maybe some other questions. Uwe has still some time. He has to leave at half. So,
I had a question about exactly BAdI, but in CMXSV, in the XStep repository. Currently, our database is quite big. Even if we archive, we have only 1 month process order. But in CMXSV, we cannot make where use lists. It's too big. Is there a way to restrict the where use list to go, for example, only on master recipe or only in the XStep itself, in the XStep repository itself?
I don't know if you, so we had also customers which got runtime errors because of the big amount of used XSS references. There were some SAP notes concerning improvements.
Yeah, we put in place all the notes, but...
yeah. No, I don't think that we offered some filtering mechanism, but in principle it should be possible. But so here I would address this via OSS message or SAP message to the customer message to the colleagues. Otherwise, you can then also at least modify the query that goes for the historical and non-historical SXS reference nodes. Yeah. So there's quite some performance improvements, but yeah, here we don't have let's say a user exit.
Okay.
The SXS repository. What you can do is there's a if I got it right, it's quite some time ago, but in the XStep repository, it's also possible to define your own actions on the context menu. So here you have also to so the where used functionality is also available if you, let's say, mark the corresponding standard XStep and then execute right mouse click. And here it's possible to define your own functionality with implementing the corresponding.
Could you show it and so that the audience can a little bit see?
Okay. I'll try so, but we're
just
quite
the where used list, just as everybody knows what we're talking about, maybe.
Yeah. So quite some time ago, because the first implementation of the way used list that I did was in customer coding. So try to share again. Okay. So try the desktop. And so second time. So this is not the fastest system that you ever saw in SAP, but okay, you might know this. And the folks who have, at least I think in Hardware Package 5, they know also the checkbox for the cross-plant repository, which should show you something for a plant. Here we have XStepCafe repository. Just try to go on where I know that we have some references. And you see here we have the XSteps for the goods received as an example. And if I do a right click on the mouse, the context menu pops up. And so here the entry the where used is added. And this context menu list can be also enhanced by customer-specific coding. But I have to check if there are some, let's say, at least some additional to be made in the basis customizing for execution of the functions. But I did it. So what you then would be able to do is just to define using let's say most of the logic that would be implemented for the where used list, your own functionality that allows you to execute your where used list for let's say at least for the historical objects like master recipe or standard routing, or the non-historical objects meaning production process orders, and also the usage of SXS references inside the XStep repository. So just show the result. So this standard XStep was used in several applications. Here we have a master recipe where it was directly referenced. Therefore, we have this explosion level 1. And you can also see here the task master recipe. A double click on this, then I directly are navigated to the master recipe. Then here I can just dive into the corresponding XStep tree. What's not working is that here is the goods receipts reference code. You can also see that it directly points to this standard XStep in folder 44. What we are able to make is that we directly navigate from standard XStep to the corresponding XStep tree of the master recipe. This really doesn't work. Here we have manufacturing orders. These are process orders where we use this standard XStep in standard XStep reference nodes. And you can also see here, productive control recipes have been created, and also here we had creation of control recipes for testing. And also on double clicking on the manufacturing order number, or also on I think on the order category in this application symbol, we can also then directly navigate to the process or production order and check also the XStep tree. So this is the meaning of the where used, which is also quite helpful if you want to check how many objects are affected if I create a new release, a new version of my standard XStep. Here I got only version 1, and check if you have to also adjust your master data there, which is commonly used. And the logic here is really to check for the routings, the orders, also the usage of this standard XSteps inside the repository. And this makes it quite complex. And I can also just write down the nodes that improve performance for the way used significantly, if they are not that known. But if you have a large summary of objects, then I think the query itself for detecting the corresponding standard XStep reference has then to be fine-tuned. Okay, this answers a question a little bit.
Yeah. We knew that there were some coding to do, but yeah, we didn't find any user exits yet. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but to add a specific context to the right click, it's what it's coding also. Huh?
Yeah, so you have to code this also, yeah.
Yeah.
For the members on the phone, if it's of interest, then I can prepare something about this context, adding own context menu entries for the next XStep session, if you're interested in.
That's definitely on interest.
Okay, great, Uwe. So something to do for next time.
So, spend my hobby hours. What I also have to mention is that here we are in the XStep repository, and adding the own contracts entries by the BAdI. It is not, as far as I remember, not possible in the XStep editor that is used for displaying and working with the XSteps in master recipes or orders. This I can also check, but I think that is not possible to add your own, let's say, commands. But then we can talk about this in a little bit more detail, or not on a too much technical level for the next time.
Okay.
So I would then focus on what's to do, which BAdI is to implement, and what are the, let's say, the additional prerequisites for getting your own menu entry. And perhaps we can also try to get in, let's say, where use this for routings only. Concerning the performance issue, you have more, let's say, the biggest problem for checking the standard XSteps that are used in orders or in routings. More likely in orders, I suppose. Is this correct?
Yeah, it's order because order is massive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Good morning. My name is Lonnie at IDEX Labs, and I have a question on ActiveX context menus. The one that allows you to disable or enable, tables or rows. Do you know of any way to search, like using DM print or something, a PI sheet that would have had a context menu used in it?
Are you talking about the usage of the OCX controls?
Of the ActiveX, right, that allows you to, like, disable a row or disable a table?
I think, yeah, I think she means exactly that, yeah. Mm.
Mm-hmm. So I don't think that we prepared something like that to identify where such features are used.
The question's coming in that, people aren't documenting that they're disabling something.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're tasked with trying to figure out how to determine that they have done it. So,
is there any other indicator over which makes that visible that something has been changed from the normal?
So just for tracking, we have this event logging in the PI sheet where I just thought about that.
Yeah.
This might be helpful.
So
Or
there should be an entry on such an activity, correct?
yeah, if it's activated for the corresponding in the customizing for the control recipe destination, where you can also I think at least force the worker to we can just briefly check it. If I got the customizing transaction right, I think it's so just a second. So this the standard way, which is all on a more technical way. We have the I think that's the wrong one. We'll check customizing. Quite long ago. And also the possibility of the audit trail on a very technical level, but this might be, let's say, technically spoken too much. So we can just check what's the controller recipe destination good for. So I think we can just check it. The plant PM02 and just mark something for one that I use for the browser-based PI sheet of type 4. And we got into the details. Here is the possibility, the logging possibility for activate and deactivate, for locking, unlocking completely, or value entry, where you can choose logging without signature. So it's not so we just report it. We have the logging with the simple signature, which is quite not the digital signature that we use, and also the logging with the digital signature, where you are forced if you deactivate or activate something that's
so that means it's not just logging with signature, but it's really you cannot do that action when you do not do a signature, correct, Uwe?
Yeah, exactly. If you then also enter the signature strategy.
Ronnie, would that help, or did you already think about that, or is that?
I have not looked at that yet. That's at least some area to go look. Where we had been looking was like in DM print to see if there was something in that, but so this may be something. Great.
Okay.
What also is clear is as far as to activate the logging, also the data that is let's say stored in the PI sheet or the PI sheet data itself then increases. So some customers let's say really specifically think what you would like to activate, would you like to see, because if the PI sheets are quite very big, then you might encounter some performance during loading, performance issues during loading.
But I would recommend to activate at least the activate deactivate log, because that's really something which essentially changed the behavior of the PI sheet.
Correct.
The log unlock is, well, I mean, if you log something, it's logged, but you need to complete it, or you need to fill it out to complete the PI sheet anyway. So you need to unlock it sometime later anyway. So, but the deactivation of something is really something which is an essential change. So that's really something you really must, in my opinion, must activate. And best with a signature or something like that, because that's nothing a normal user should do, really.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Okay. Still time, or do you need to leave?
So let's spend a couple of minutes.
Okay. So, any more questions? We've got a big audience today.
Good morning. This is Chandra Kalipara from Bristol Massachusetts. I'm not a regular participant. I have I think basically a simple question, I guess. Is there any way that in a PI sheet we would get automatically, if a process message fails, an indication or a flag?
You would? I didn't really get it. You want to see the process message?
Failed, right? If the process message was unsuccessful, is there a feedback to the PI sheet that it failed?
Quite very interesting question. So at least there were some similar questions. We can, so also PI sheet that I got here, we create the data for the process message. We then send the process message, and then let's say the idea would then be if the process message is sent to get an indicator in the PI sheet that allows you to see if everything went fine,
Correct.
or say green LED or something like that. or if you have to check the logs for the process message.
I think we already had that question some time ago, and my answer then was you could create a function module where you can have a button, you press it, and then you get a result which gives you a check, which does an actual check on all the process messages which are related to this PI sheet. I think that is possible. Do you agree, Uwe? I think that was the solution. And of course, you could probably also use that result of such a function module also to prevent a PI sheet from being completed or something, so that you just have this, if you want it. I mean, sometimes, the whole idea behind the process messages is that this is asynchronously done, and so that you don't block yourself in the PI sheet, so that you can really take care of the current process, and somebody else could probably follow up on some message which hangs. But of course, if you designed your PI sheets in a way that you sort of depend on a successful completion of certain messages, then you would need that.
Right. I guess the latter is our case. I think we depend on the successful messages.
Yeah. One of the problems is also if you most times if you have, let's say, at least a table line where we want to create a process message, you then have to complete the corresponding process instruction. So this normally then also it deactivates all input fields. If I have let's say starting process messages for good receipt, we enter some data, and then here the problem then would be how would you then at least populate the status of an LED that's in the same row of the table, which is quite.
But LED would also mean to do some style sheet things, and I mean probably that's not the real thing you really absolutely need. Of course, it's more fancy, but just a status or something would also be okay.
I guess the style sheet already has some ability to show that process messages failed, right? It's kind of at a header level, right?
Not quite sure. Uwe, do you know that?
So I think the biggest problem is don't try that out. But also what I'm just that sure is also the identification of the process, the distinct process message. When the time is where you draw the process message number. If you have, let's say, more than one process message in your PI sheet at different places, and you want to know if, say, the process message in phase 30 was correctly sent, you at least needs, let's say, more specific information for such purposes. And I don't know if perhaps you can add additional functionality in the head of the PI sheet, in the section using your own functions and adapting those styles. But
I think what they would need if they designed their PI sheet so that they need to block themselves from that they cannot continue without successful messages in one step or in one phase, for example. You could probably do that after each phase and search for process messages. I think they all have the phase, or usually they have the phase in their characteristics.
Yeah, correct.
So you could sort of create this function module which looks not only generally for messages for that PI sheet, but also with that phase also as a parameter. And then only if all are green or status is good, then you would probably can set as return a status, which then allows this check for an unlocking of another phase, maybe.
Okay. I think that kind of helps.
I had on that unlocking thing. I had several sessions in the past where I showed some solutions on how to do that with commands and events. So just check that out.
Okay. So I was also looking at if we could have an implementation of the MDA that actually subscribes to process message failures. Has anyone kind of done that kind of thing, or is that advisable? So, I mean, the idea is to use MDA in a non-ODA or non-OPC world, right?
Mm-hmm. Uwe, I think you told me that MDA could be used for many things, but
I think the only problem would then be that so in principle you would then use a data point or use the broadcast event for saying, okay, here I trigger this event, and the recipient would then be the PI sheet that handles the successful sending of the process message. But this also would mean that at least the framework that is used that sends the process messages then would have to trigger at least some kind of an event where you can register or at least write information to the data points that you then would analyze in the PI sheet. And here I don't know if we have any to exit or BAdI during, or at least after sending the process message and after receiving the error messages or the success messages to trigger such events. So I think so at least a triggering mechanism in the process.
Yeah, my advice on this is probably, I mean, if you try to do this with too much eventing, you might end up in weird situations where you block yourself, you lock yourself out of the process, you know. So that's generally I would rather recommend doing things where you can really sort of have more control of it. So like this button where you can press and then you get a status, and it's easier to also to troubleshoot if something goes wrong.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, last round for questions.
Last question, please.
Hello, this is Sue Roshan. Can you hear me?
Hi, Sue. How are you?
Good, very good. A little bit attached to that last question about MDA. We've been told that we should be using live parameters in our PI sheets. We have the situation where we have multiple PI sheets being generated for a process because we have multiple stations and operators who have to access a portion of the process simultaneously. So we've split that out across multiple PI sheets so that they can be opened concurrently. And we have values in a phase of one PI sheet that will need to be populated in the phase of a second or third PI sheet, for example. And those values are populated as the phases are opened, and we have phase dependencies across the PI sheet. So you can start to see the spaghetti that we've created with these phases and these PI sheets. And we were told that we should use live parameters to pass the values instead of the method that we're using, which is function modules and parking the data off to either the batch class or the order class. What my question is, will live parameters through MDA work for this? Can you truly depend and rely on the data that's in MDA, or does it potentially get overwritten during the processing amongst these multiple PI sheets if they're closed down, open back up, that kind of thing?
Yeah, very good question, Uwe. I think we had some problems ourselves with live parameters at some point in time, did we?
Yeah, I'm just checking for the note, but I'm pretty sure that Sue got the note because side effect of let's say an error correction deactivated the live parameter functionality. I'm not that sure because at least the live parameter function framework, as far as I know, it uses also the capabilities of the manufacturing data access. What we also did not try is exactly the constellation that you describe, and I'm not pretty sure. So in general, there's a high chance that it works, but I have no clue if what the effects are if you see close down the PI sheets, open it, then again if the values got lost. So here would recommend to check it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't we have our customers in Ingelheim had their own way of doing this communication between PI sheets?
Yes, sure.
As an alternative?
But I think if I got it, yeah, so they improved it as far as I know. But they had a different approach. I think they used also set tables for storing the values.
Okay.
Yeah, but I cannot.
Yeah,
So it's quite a very long time ago. I can check my notes.
Mm.
And perhaps is somebody of Ingelheim in here in the call?
Probably not.
Yeah.
They are seldom here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have some. I don't know whether we have anything which we are allowed to disclose in the XStepCafe. But if we have, or maybe you could ask and check whether there's some possibility. We could probably do a separate post on that as a sort of hint, or at least to give it the direction how this could be solved. In that way.
That would be very good if you could cover that subject. That would be very good.
Mm.
Okay. And then I had a sort of a non-XStep related question having to do with process orders, and I don't know if it's something you can answer, around milestone confirmations and releasing of reservations. So we are sending PHCons messages, process messages for confirmations. And we're having an issue where we've ordered the phases because they have to be physically ordered in such a way that the last or the later phase number is set as a milestone confirmation, and it would clear the reservations on the previous phases. And that's not happening. And I didn't know if anybody had ever experienced that, or if there was something that we should look at if somebody's ever had that problem before. So, for instance, if we have phases 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, and we have add materials in those, 1, 2, and 3,000, and we do a phase confirmation in 5,000, it's not clearing the reservations in the previous phases with a milestone confirmation.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
We might give you an answer on this.
What's that?
We might give you an answer on this, if we
Okay.
may. You have to have the relationships correct between the phases. And the milestone phase will confirm the other previous ones, but you need the relationship.
So the phase relationship plays into how the reservations will get released?
Well, not the way it's released, but how it's confirmed. When you have the milestone confirmation, then the previous phases with the relationships will be confirmed at the same time.
Okay, so relationships do play in. That's probably where I missed, because I didn't think that the phase relationships would play into that.
Yeah. Otherwise, it doesn't know which ones are the previous phases.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I appreciate that. I will try that out.
That's really an excellent example of the usefulness of a community.
Yes.
So I really encourage you to submit to this Google Plus community, which I told you about in the beginning, and maybe you could just post such a question there, and if that community grows, maybe that's a good way to get answers there.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Right. So Uwe and I, we have to go to our next meeting. So sorry about that. We need to stop a little bit before time. And it's great to have such a big audience today here, but probably because of my reminder mail, which I started to send. And looking forward to the next time, which will be in roughly two months. I will get it posted on the blog. And till next time, I wish you all a good time.
Thank you very much.
Bye. You too. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.